Here's the deal. I've written an expose that will finally show this city how dangerous Spider-Man really is. I want a picture that shows the truth about that menace. Whoever brings it to me will be the Bugle's newest staff photographer.
I've done a lot of recording for this relative to the other games, and which was my first indicator of how big this game is. And I had fun. You know, we had a good time doing it. JK's great. He's a great guy, and he's a lot of fun, brings a ton of energy to the set, and brings a lot of comedy to the movies, which I think is good, you know.
He's just so right off the page of a comic book. Even when he wasn't done up here and we were just doing the voice, he's, you know, it's so specific. He's great. And he's a great actor, too.
Now, what does a piece like that need?
To be thrown in the trash.
I'll tell you what it needs, a great photo.
You were absolutely right, Mr. Jameson.
Of course I am.
But Mr. Jameson, Spider-Man's been helping people.
Horse That's a scam.
Toby's great. We sort of hit it off on the first movie and found that Toby and Sam and I, you know, who were all in the room together, of course, all the time, found a nice level of giving each other a hard time in a fun way and cracking jokes. And it's like going to romper room every day.
We've been working together for about a year now on the film, so to work with him on this was a blast. We get along really well, and he's a really funny guy. That's the thing I think not a lot of people know about Toby. He's a funny dude. So we have a lot of fun together.
Topher jumped right on the moving train that is the Spider-Man series. He's quick, he's funny, he's great to work with, and yeah, he was like immediately part of the team.
Topher is so into it, you know, he's such a fan of these movies and the comic books and the whole thing, so he's so gung-ho and so eager and worked so hard and really did an excellent job, and, you know, brings the right balance of menace and humor and rivalry for Peter Parker, so it's been great.
I only have room in the budget for one of you.
No problem, JJ. I'll get that picture for you in no time.
That's a spirit there, Bob.
It's Brock, sir. Edward Brock Jr.
Really? Well, don't just stand there. Go, get my picture.
Oh, Pete, this job is so mine. Come by next week. I'll be happy to show you my new office.
You're dreaming. Spider-Man is a hero, not a crook. There's no way you'll get that picture.
Oh, I think I know a way. I'll see you, loser.
What's he up to?
I'm the Amazing Spider-Man of the 4 in the game, and so I have the lion's share of all of the dialogue.
Let's get a good look at that gorgeous mug. Don't be so bashful.
Which is fun, because he's the more sarcastic of them.
I'm Dan Gilvezan, performing the role of Spider-Man 2099. I was thrilled to hear that they were going to use some of the older voices, because these are the voices that the fans really know and appreciate.
I think we recorded 25 different variations for when something happens. So when Spider-Man beats a boss, he can say, and that's that. Or he can say,
Who's having a good time? Raise your hand.
So I think the more you play it, the different stuff will happen. You can follow exactly what it is you're supposed to do, or you can kind of diverge from it and kind of explore different areas within a game.
My name is Josh Keaton, and I play Ultimate Spider-Man. I think the thing that I relate to most about Peter Parker is the fact that he leads a double life, because when I was in high school, I was a total dork, but on the other side, I had a whole different group of friends.
Wow, that's not too big or anything. Can somebody say overcompensating?
He's kind of the trash talker of the Marvel heroes.
Look what I can do! I make it look easy.
I think that that's going to be something people look for. People want to have that attitude.
I'm Christopher Daniel Barnes, and I'm playing Spider-Man Noir. It's a blast. It's a lot of fun. It's creative. And to see that there's really sort of an overwhelmingly positive response to what you've done, that's just a great feeling. For people that like stealth and shadows and more strategic thinking, I think that they're going to really like Noir. One
of the great things about this is it takes 4 separate worlds and puts them together into one game. And what more can you ask for, really?
Naturally, I think the 2099 and the actor behind that voice is probably the finest of all. But, you know, some of the other guys, they're a little sensitive, you know, oh, I think I'm better than you are, you're better than I am. I'm the best, really. Shh.
Why don't we do the interview?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. My character, Walker Sloan, is the cause, really, of determining the new world, isn't it? But if I were to pretend to have a superpower, and it was mental telepathy, well then, you would know all about it, wouldn't you? I'm acting like I'm acting. He's all about power, but he won't have anything to say about it by the time I'm done.
When we recorded the voice for Mary Jane, we agreed that it was more of the original version of Mary Jane. She was a little more saucy and she had a bit of attitude and she wasn't just this naive, innocent character.
You again. At first I thought you were... But you sound different.
I should probably do it again.
Right? You're welcome.
It's okay.
Makes it even better when I go... I'll get it right this time because we're actually shooting. Just kidding. I'll stand back. Yeah? My, a blast from the past. Such an active little spider brings back so many memories.
Sleep.
I think the best thing about working in the booth is you actually get the experience of what the other actor's doing.
Oh, you're the one who doesn't get it, Parker. The future depends on you.
My future is meaningless without her.
And everyone else's future can go hang? Now who's being selfish?
The characters are so different that seeing that contrast and hearing that contrast really helped me to get a handle on my character. That's what worked for me.
See, right there, I was being a good voiceover artist and allowing space between the two interactions so that they could edit them together.
You can't mean that. You can't just ignore that she's in danger.
Watch me.
You selfish son of a...
Look, I'm trying to focus on what's important here.
What's important is not standing by and allowing someone to suffer or die because you do nothing.
You don't have that barrier. You can actually have a real dialogue.
Sure.
And in some of these scenes where things are so tense...
I'll say and do anything you want, just please, Miguel, do this for me.
This is gonna be a huge mistake.
I owe you, Miguel. Big time.
Yeah, shocking right you do. But maybe this will help even the score for everything the world owes you.
And the thing about video games is that video games are akin to horror movies in that it's life or death all the time.
Oh no.
What? What's wrong?
It's Mary Jane. She dies tonight, right there at Alchemax.
How did you know? Oh, for shock's sake, what part of don't poke around the archives was unclear?
Fine, I'm a nosy Parker, but now that I've found out...
It's what? What, my job to save her? I've got enough to deal with. That's brutal, dude.
And we got some friends. We brought some friends. Of Marvel Spider-Man. So we've got Yuri Lowenthal playing Spider-Man Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Got my man Nigel Jeter, who's playing the one and only Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Brian is still here.
I don't play anybody. Brian plays the biggest Spider-Man nerd ever.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I'll challenge you for that.
Yeah, I would challenge you.
You did actually have Brian in a suit one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Gotta talk more. Bill's still with us?
Greetings.
And we have Black Cat.
Hi.
Erica, what's happening?
Hi.
And we have one of our villains.
I'm the accountant.
The accountant.
I'm the intern. I brought coffee.
Mr. Negative is the most positive person I know.
I'm just happy to be here.
I know. We got Steve Oyoung, who is Mr. Negative, joining us as well. So, Marvel and Insomniac, you work to create this more experienced, wiser version of Spider-Man. Let's talk about that a little bit.
So we wanted to make a wiser one, that we chose somebody like Yuri, who's opposite of that.
Dumb.
No, it was really, I think for us was, the origin story had kind of been done a lot already, and we said, what's another point in Peter's life that would be pretty memorable for a lot of people? And I remember for me, when I graduated college and was paying my own bills and my own rent and trying to make a name for myself in my career, I'm like, that was pretty memorable. I was like, I think that'd be a good time to explore with Peter. And then from there on, we just started looking for who is someone that could represent that well? And the thing I kind of boiled down to someone who had humor and heart, and Yuri nailed it.
Oh.
Nailed it. Absolutely.
He really does.
And I remember where I was.
Yeah.
So we put Yuri through the ringer. I mean, we asked him back 4 times. And then I remember I was actually away on the East Coast, and I said, just one more VO sample, just one more. And he's probably I've done this 1,000 times. Just one more. And it was 50 lines we asked him to do. And I was back east, and I was in a bedroom, downloading all the files. And I just closed my eyes, and I said, that's Peter Parker.
You haven't told me that story.
Actually, it's an exclusive. I saved it.
Saved it.
But I mean that was when I knew, and then every single day, whether it was in the VO booth or in the PCAP stage, it just came to life, and it was with all of our cast.
That's awesome. So Najee, you're playing Miles Morales. Where does Miles find himself in Marvel Spider-Man?
Oh man, there's a long history with Miles that my uncles actually told me about in the '80s, which I wasn't born in. I was born in the '90s,
Shut
baby.
up.
The '90s, baby. So you know. But anyway, so man, Miles goes back, man. But Miles to me was just a new bright character that I took into, a huge liking to, because I got into my inner kid again. And then also, growing up on Spider-Man as well, too. So, when they gave me the background of Miles and then also his history and then how he is, finding out all of this and having such a great responsibility at such a young age and then taking on this whole new world, man, it's amazing because he's like a big kid in a candy store, with his first $1 million. So he just going crazy with it, but at the same time, he's trying to stay focused and then knows what's coming, because it's a lot coming from Miles and Peter, but,
So we do get kind of an origin story.
Yeah, and I think, and the thing is, we cast, I think Yuri and Steven were cast pretty early. Woo. I got a great
Yeah, we did.
And, and what happened was, originally Miles was actually going to be a smaller role in the game, and then a lot of us started digging more into the comics, and I'm like, no, we gotta kind of elevate him. And I even asked you, could they coexist in the same world? And
exactly.
And you
so
said,
in the
yeah.
comic books, Miles originally came from another reality, and Brian said, could they both be in the same world? And I'm like, we can do that. I love it. And the reason I love it is it allows us to have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
So Peter is, like you just said, 8 years older. He's no longer a teenager, but he's still a young adult going through these more adult challenges.
Yeah.
And then we have Miles, who's kind of at the age that Peter was
15,
when he first got bit by the spider. So you get that great relationship, and again, we don't have to retell Spider-Man's origin, which we love, which is great, but it's been told so many times.
Yeah.
So it allows us to start fresh, but still kind of poke at that teenage experience.
That
as
is
well.
amazing.
And I think, Yuri, didn't we bring you to do the final test with Najee, to do the
I came in when we were reading Najee.
And I remember we did a couple rounds. We brought Najee back, and I said, Yuri, and can you come back and just And I remember seeing them on stage again, and I was like,
right. And
that's
he walked
Peter
out,
Miles.
and he walked out, and I'm like, you bet. That's
That's the guy. That's the guy.
That's awesome.
Because that's Miles Morales.
And that was really, really fun to see their banter and the way they worked. And I mean, there's a very, one of the first things we ever did with these two is actually a pretty emotional scene. Oh, yeah. And I was just like, oh man, those guys are good.
That's awesome. So Steve, Mr. Negative.
Yes, sir.
Oh man.
Who is Mr. Negative?
The negative energy. Mr. Negative. Who is Mr. Negative?
Who is Mr.
Bill
Negative?
and Brian would know way
Well, we knew we wanted to, showcase Spider-Man's greatest villains, like his classic villains. But then we said, as Brian was talking about earlier, let's mix it up a bit. So we picked a character, Mr. Negative, who's only been around for about 7 years. Yeah. So for many people, this is their introduction to him. They don't know who he is. But we knew.
Look at that guy. Hey, Hollywood, hire this guy. Hire this guy.
We knew we had a great chance. If you think about this show, Jessica Jones on Netflix, and they introduced Kilgrave, the Purple Man, and no one really knew what he was, but they spotlighted and they showed why he was great. And so we said, that's our opportunity. We're going to get this newish character, show him to the world. They won't know who he is, but they're going to walk away saying, I love that villain. He's awesome.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah.
So, can I please tell the story of Steven auditioning? Just real quick.
Please do it. You got to.
So Steven was literally the first person we brought in for Mr. Negative.
I was.
And he scared the living crap out of us. Wow. And the guy, you guys know Walt.
Yeah.
You guys know Walt.
Yeah.
Walt looked like the fear of God. And then Steve throws down this knife and basically says, there's nobody better than me. And we're like, yeah, man, you're the captain.
I was in it, man.
You was in it to win it,
That's
man.
funny. I had a suit on and everything. I didn't even know. Yes, ironically, I had a black suit with a whatever. And then we had to do this thing.
A lot of the
You brought a
times
knife to the audition?
Yeah, when first people bring people in, we don't tell them.
Oh, man, that guy's stunt double is amazing. Who is that stunt stunt double.
And another reason why Mr. Negative is so cool is he symbolizes that idea of worlds colliding.
Yep.
So Peter's Aunt May works at the Feast homeless shelters that are run and funded by Martin Lee.
Yeah.
Martin Lee is also, oh my gosh, he's Mr. Negative. He's Spider-Man's
Spoiler alert.
So it's
no spoilers tonight.
Oh my gosh. My aunt's boss is a villain and could endanger my aunt. Boom! Worlds colliding.
Worlds colliding. So, The City That Never Sleeps is the DLC post-launch content coming to Marvel's Spider-Man. And Miss Erica, you were playing Black Cat, who was in that first episode.
Yes,
so
I
tell us a
am.
little bit about that.
Oh, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say.
So stay away from spoilers.
Let Brian say. So we don't get in trouble. I'll get us in trouble.
There's the
so
teaser.
we actually Black Cat. She is in the standalone game that you're going to play in about, I don't know, like 35 minutes or something. And we kind of set up that they've had a history, and Black Cat is basically the featured character of our first piece of DLC, which you see here.
Yeah.
And that was another great example of just when I heard the audition, I was like, Black Cat.
Oh, really? That's
Oh
so
my
cool.
God! A lot of times, what I do is before we've actually created a model, I actually will just grab a clip. I'll go to I'll Google Black Cat or Spider-Man or something, and which, by the way, be careful when you Google Black Cat
and Spider-Man together.
Sorry. And you just close your eyes and you're like, okay, or look at the concept image and go, okay, could this be the voice? And it was perfect.
Oh, well, thank you so much for
You're very
letting me
welcome.
be a part of this.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Najee Jeter. I'm playing Miles Morales in Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. Miles' game is a continuation of the first Spider-Man game. You'll see Miles' new powers, his world, who he really is, his family, what he's all about.
Hey! Dude, I am so filling your suit with snow. Are you still wearing your suit?
Yeah, just in case.
So Miles' personal growth and story is rooted in tragedy, just like the other Spider-Men in the comics.
I think that the death of Miles' dad affected him greatly. I think Miles was a little lost. He was impacted in an emotional way, and he looked to his dad, and then that hero is gone.
I think what's most exciting about Miles' new abilities is the fact that the story is really centered around how does Miles become his own Spider-Man, alongside but separate from Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
So Miles and Pete do share some similar powers, but Miles has camouflage, has a little venom powers, is a little faster.
He's going to feel different from the previous Spider-Man.
See, this is my favorite part of living in Harlem. Pop-up street fair, best food in the city, awesome music.
Living in Brooklyn, because that's where we lived as a family, it's a painful reminder of our life together. So we go back to Spanish Harlem, we get an apartment.
Being in Spanish Harlem, he becomes a whole new person. He has to adjust to new friends, to a new culture, to a new community.
From what I've seen of Spanish Harlem, it's both rugged and beautiful. You really get connected to the lifeline of this part of the city and what's going on.
Miles, what's the underground doing?
They're after New Form. Whoa! With every great hero, there's always a villain. Let's not shoot each other, all right? The villains in the game give Miles the pressure, put him on his toes, get him thinking all the time.
So on the outside, Roxxon's motivations appear to be helpful and positive.
You're gonna have a love and hate relationship with them. You'll get to find out in the game who they really are, what they're really about.
We think we have Roxxon as the only enemy, and then Roxxon has other enemies, but they're not necessarily after the same goals that we as a community in Spanish Harlem are.
The underground is no good. They have a leader that Miles is not too fond of.
They come in not just to threaten Roxxon, but to threaten us. Now we're dealing with some really scary stuff.
The game is action-packed. The exciting,
No.
really emotional.
We are gonna get the fans on their toes, man.
I am definitely looking forward to playing this game. We cannot wait.
It's gonna be mind-blowing. I'm telling you.